All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is Phil Ferguson. And of course, you're listening to an interview on the Phil Ferguson Show, or maybe you're watching the interview on the Phil Ferguson Show. So if you're watching, there's more stuff in the podcast. And if you're listening to the podcast, you can actually see at least new interviews on YouTube. I'm trying that out, learning as I go, making plenty of mistakes, but hopefully I get better at it. And today, someone who's a much bigger presence on YouTube, way, way, way more views than I've ever gotten. I have John Gleason, and he is also known as the Godless Engineer. John, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I've had to actually go like into work now as opposed to being telework, and so that's been a little bit stressful. But other than that, doing pretty good.
Yeah, you forgot how painful that drive back and forth was, didn't you?
Yeah, especially at like 4:30 in the morning.
I at one
I
point I worked in Chicago, but I lived on the extreme outside suburbs, and it would take me 40 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes each direction.
oh. Yeah, I mean, back before I moved closer to work, it sometimes it would take me well over an hour like to get home from work, and so that on top of being at work for 9 hours and then
Yeah.
being in traffic, like it was brutal. But yeah, doing a lot better now. I'm closer to work now, and before having to return to in office, I just worked from home, which was a lot easier. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm adapting.
I had one time when I used to live in Chicago, and I left work and got home at 7 p.m. because there was snow. And my wife says, "Well, that's not too bad. Two hours with the snow." I said, "I didn't leave at 5, honey. I left at 3." So it was 4 hours of white knuckle driving to go 40
Wow.
miles. That was rough.
Yeah, that would have pissed me off for sure.
Yeah, and but nothing you can do because even though you're only moving 5 or 10 miles an hour, you're moving. That's better than not
Yeah.
moving. Uh,
Yeah, no, I agree.
if you don't mind me asking, what is it that you do during the day? Is it for pay? I mean, is it an engineering thing?
Yeah, I'm a software engineer. Currently working on like helicopters and stuff. They have mission planning software that they
Okay.
use in order to plan out their missions and everything. And so I'm working on kind of the next iteration of that. It's a whole suite of tools, and we only do a few parts of it. But we're steadily working on that, and that affords us like whenever there's events, right now the events are kind of cut down because of the travel freeze. But whenever there's events, we go and we test, and we get to actually interact with like Army pilots and Navy pilots and all that. So it's rather interesting kind of work to do.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. I always love meeting people and hearing about their jobs. Um, and of course, the YouTube channel, Godless Engineer. I just happened to pick one of the episodes from I don't know, a week ago or so. You were on Skeptic Haven, so I guess were you on someone else's show, or is that part of your thing?
Yeah, that's another show. So there's a few channels out there that do the call-in shows,
Yeah.
where people can call in and everything and interact with this. And so Skeptic Haven's one of those. I'm also on the line a lot, and then I'm a main host on AXP, Atheist Experience.
And of
And
course,
so
your own channel is Godless Engineer, so you could just go to YouTube and search for Godless Engineer. You're right at the top. At least that's what happened when I searched for you, so that's good.
yeah, I've done a pretty good job of like getting a decent SEO like going for like Godless Engineer in general.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's a few other godless accounts, but I feel like mine's probably old enough to where it's like it probably pops to the top.
I'm wondering if I could get Godless God.
Godless God.
I don't know. And
Yeah.
general on your show, you're doing atheism, talking to people about religion, skepticism, and whether
Mhm.
you liked it or not, you've gotten dragged into the flat Earth bullshit.
Yeah. So there for a while, I mean, it was a good like 3, 4 years. Like I was pretty heavy into responding to flat Earth claims and like debating flat earthers and everything. And so that was really interesting to do that because they come up with wild claims about like the earth and about the sun and how all of that is situated. And so it was always very easy to debunk because you just do a quick Google search and you can come up with like 75 expert opinions about perfectly explaining like the concepts, and it's just a matter of trying to explain it, to somebody that's sucked into flat Earth.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned that. That was great because that was where I was going to go next. Why? I mean, what's driving people to find this stuff, to believe this stuff, to argue this stuff? Is it just a big money machine for a few people pushing an agenda, or is it kind of some mass delusion?
Well, so I think for some of them it might be like sort of like a grift, you know, but I really think that people are attracted to this whole idea of like secret information. Like they have like the true information and everybody else is fooled. And so it's like they feel like they have this sort of special level of knowledge. And I think that that's really kind of what it boils down to, is that they want to feel special. Either I don't mean to armchair psychoanalyze people, but it kind of like in most of my interactions with people in that group, it seemed like they were underappreciated or something like that in real life, or maybe they don't feel great about their position in life, and so like this whole secret information is very alluring, to them,
Yeah.
feeling like they know something that people don't want them to know and all this other stuff.
Now, I
And
wonder
so
if that's some weird selection bias because I would wager that the vast majority of the population feels underappreciated.
oh yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think that there are some people that just like they start looking into it and they have questions, and I feel like definitely that bias comes into play whenever they're looking for information. And it's like just because something's complicated for them to understand, they seem to get sucked into the easy explanations that flat Earth provides, and I think that they fundamentally misunderstand like Occam's razor. I get that a lot of people kind of misunderstand Occam's razor,
yeah.
especially in the flat Earth community, because they think that things just don't need complicated answers. But like when you start getting into some of the more the more niche claims that some flat earthers make, you have to dive into like the mathematics of it, like geometries and
Yeah.
astrophysics and all that other kind of stuff. And so I just think that that kind of information, like that, going that in depth about it, is a little daunting to a lot
Oh,
of people.
absolutely. And I find in my sphere, my world. Oh, wait, that's still around. Anyway, in investing, a lot of people, they'll call me and I recently saw something about Japan is selling all of their U.S. bonds and it's going to cause a collapse of the dollar. And it was just really quick for me to Google total U.S. bond market supply and to see that it essentially hasn't changed. It's actually 6% higher than it was a year ago. And so I'm like, why does someone read that and think that that's reality and just share it far and wide?
Hmm.
And they don't have, in my case, basic financial information. In your case, basic earth science class. I mean, if they had it at all, it might have been eighth grade or freshman year of high school. They had one semester where they tried to explain to you that the moon went around the earth, and that was the last time they fucking thought about it. So they just really don't understand how the world works, I think. Is that a fair thing to say? That a lot of people just don't
I
get?
mean, yeah, because I feel like a lot of these topics, even in earth science, are pretty complicated for them. Like, you encounter this a lot with like creationism stuff,
Yeah,
because
I do.
like a good example of that would be like radiometric dating and how that works. Because you get creationists out there that will be like, oh, well, we sent off these rocks to get radiometrically dated, and it came back with, like, 75,000 years, but we know it was made last week in a volcano. And they don't understand, like, how radiometric dating works, what kind of samples you have to use. Like, they just simply don't understand those things. And I think it's pretty much the same thing for flat Earth. They don't understand how perspective makes the sun, a particular shape in the sky, or a particular size in the sky, rather. They don't understand how, like, lens flares, like whenever you're looking at the sun, make it appear bigger than it actually is, and all this other stuff. And so, these kinds of things I think are a little daunting for some people, and so they just opt for the easy answer, much like, just opting to read and believe, the headline without doing any kind of background check on, your situation with the bond market, I think is
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
said.
U.S. bonds. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so instead of doing the due diligence and research and really understanding it, you just read and believe whatever the headline says. And it's kind of the same thing for flat Earth. They just sort of they hear other people being like, oh, well, if the Earth really is it really is round, or an oblate spheroid, then why is it that we can see ships, 5-10 miles out into the sea? Like, why isn't it covered up
Because
by
it's
the
really big.
curve? Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. A new show idea for you, because I don't have the time.
Mhm.
I don't know that you have the time either. But you've ever seen Ancient Aliens?
Yes.
I think that show makes the viewer actively stupider, or
It
should I say
does.
more stupidest? Just
More
with
more
the grammar
stupidest.
Nazis.
Yep.
Can I say grammar Nazi? Anyway, people who love grammar, I love you, but chill sometimes. You just take an episode of that show and then go through everything that they say, because I've seen it a couple episodes and it hurts. It hurts my head because
Mhm.
I'm like, that's not true. No, that's not true. No, that's not true. And I think to myself, how can someone sit and watch that and not realize that they're just lying to your face? But I guess you have to know some things about history and geology and astronomy, and I don't know, maybe you could spin that up as a nice new series on all of the other stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that I remember seeing somebody out there that actually had a YouTube series up or something that was kind of going through, like, the season one Ancient Aliens, but I know that they've got
Ah,
like 15, 24 seasons of that show
yeah,
that's
they
still
just pumped
going
that
out
up.
there.
And so
Yeah.
viewers or listeners, viewers, uh, put a comment below. Is this how you do it? Put a comment below.
Hmm.
uh, click subscribe and like and follow or whatever the fucking words are. But I would like to know, because I might be amused by a couple episodes of that. Um, and like you said, you've got your biggest video. You were telling me, because we were together at a conference. Your biggest video is something you just slapped together,
Hmm.
talking about this flat Earth stuff. But I recently watched you and Brantley on Skeptic Haven talking to a Christian about slavery,
Hmm.
and you guys were way too nice. Way nicer than me. I can't do that anymore. So I guess the conclusion is that there's not slavery in the Bible. What did you end up finding out on that?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously the guy that we were talking to was just trying to recontextualize slavery in the Bible to not be like slavery in the Bible.
Right.
Um, and so, I mean, I think that I know I at one point just gave up on the conversation,
I could
because it's
tell.
like, yeah, it was like talking to a brick wall is essentially what it turns into. And on that particular conversation, I think that I know Brentley took over, and then I had a few more things to add there at the end. But ultimately, with the slavery apologetics in the Bible, they end up either saying, that, well, no, God doesn't, that's not really what God meant, so they end up changing the words.
Right.
Or they end up saying that, oh, well, because God commanded it, that slavery was okay. kind of thing. Like they either go the divine power kind of route, or they just are in denial
Yeah.
about what the
Or
Bible
it was a
says.
different time. Right.
Yeah, it was a different time. And they make these naturalistic excuses for it, which, if we're looking at it from a naturalistic point of view, I can agree with them that, at that time it was normalized. At that time, like, people were practicing that and they saw it as okay. Like, I can agree to that. But if you're going to sit there and tell me that God was okay with it, and God is the source of all morality, and, God is all knowing and all this other stuff that, the Christian God is, then it seems to me like God should have known that this was bad and should have made commandments specifically about how you shouldn't take slaves.
That
And
that would have been
uh,
pretty crazy idea a couple thousand years ago, right?
yeah, I mean, that would definitely have set them apart more so than they were set apart. Because right now, as far as I can remember, from Dr. Joshua Bowen's book, the Israelites were either on like were par for the course. As far as ancient Near Eastern slave laws go,
Yeah.
or they were slightly more harsh. And so it definitely would have made them unique in the ancient Near East if they had said nope, no slavery.
Yeah, and it might have been bad for business too. So I don't know, how do you bring in money if you tell all your followers they can't do something that makes them money? But
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
that's weird. So I saw on the internet page. I don't even know what I'm doing today. But you were talking about different projects you're working on or want to be working
Hmm.
on. I got maybe talk about those for a minute so everybody knows what to go look for in your stuff.
Oh yeah. So I do a number of things over there on my channel and on my Facebook page and stuff. On my Facebook page, it's more liberal, I guess, sort of stuff, and it's really just me trying to combat the Christian nationalism
Right.
that's out there right now. And so I make memes, I share memes, I share videos in the comments and everything like that that are pertinent to like combating Christian nationalism. And then on my channel, like it's been a little hard for me to get back into the groove of doing all of the different kinds of content that I was doing, but I've been posting up like my conversations that I do on the various call-in shows, but I also do TikTok live streams where I take up people to talk about different topics like slavery, mysticism, and all that kind of stuff. And I've been putting those up too, like clipping those out, putting those up there so that people can view those, because they're no they're once you stop the live on TikTok, you can't like go back and watch it over there on TikTok. You'd have to post up clips. So I do that on YouTube. I like to have a lot of conversations just pretty much surrounding Christian theology and Christian origins. I would say, as far as like projects go, my main project, I guess, that I usually focus on is mythicism. And that's where I don't think that Jesus was a historical figure. And I like to talk about that one just because not a lot of people really know much about the position, or they think that I'm just a lunatic
It,
about
it
it.
is it is a non-conventional position to take. I actually I agree with you, but I would phrase it slightly different. I would say that the probability that he existed as a real person is low.
Yes. When I get specific about it, that's what I
Yeah.
say. I usually specify like I think he probably didn't exist, and so like and then I can explain what I mean by probably, and I usually go with like a really low, like a 30 or 33% chance that he did exist. So that means like the 60 to 60, what is that, 60.
66.6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, yeah, 66.6 to 70% chance he didn't. And
Right.
so I kind of go I definitely go more into depth about it whenever I talk about it. And I usually am careful about saying that I think that he probably didn't exist, and not just such a hard line Jesus didn't exist like as a brute fact.
Yeah. Now, are you willing to go and give talks at conferences or other gatherings around the country?
Oh yes, yes. Yeah. So I've actually been invited to a few things this year.
Nice.
So the first one up is the Ark Encounter protest. I've been asked to sort of give a speech in a slot, and I think the slots are about 10 minutes long right now. So I'm
Yeah.
currently
I was the
working.
MC for that one year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so I've got 10 minutes to talk, and I'm working up a speech I'm hoping is 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't have to cut it down too much, but I'm working on one right now that is connecting the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum and AIG, that just that entire endeavor,
Hmm.
to the Christian nationalist effort that's kind of taking over our government right now, because I think that people really need to understand how deeply tied Christian nationalism is to creationism. And AIG is one of the biggest arms out there for pushing creationism into our schools, and just pushing creationism in general back into the public spotlight. And so that's what my speech is going to be about at the Ark Encounter. And then later on that month, I'm actually going to be at NanoCon. Um, which is in Nashville,
Yep.
Tennessee, and they've asked
I'll
me to
be there.
be on a. Oh, you will? Okay. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, I do. I remember your financial planning company.
Yeah.
I remember them sponsoring it.
Yep.
Well, we actually decided to sponsor it too. I think we went at the second highest level. I don't know what that is, but
Sure.
yeah. So we gave them some money, but I'm going to be speaking on a panel there about content creation that they have, and then I believe in August I'm going to be at BajaCon, which is a conference up in Sarnia, Ontario,
Hmm.
Canada,
Assuming you can
and
cross the border.
yeah, that's going to be the big thing. Like, assuming they can cross the border, and assuming I don't look too Puerto Rican when I try to come back across.
Get a nice
Um,
big wide brim hat. That'll help.
yeah, it definitely will.
Yeah,
There's
actually,
no way
probably just get a red
they'll try
MAGA
to.
hat. You'll go right through.
Yeah, the red MAGA hat will definitely send us right through, I'm sure.
At least get back. Yeah.
But I'll be speaking on a panel there at the after party, so it's not officially part of, like, the conference itself, but at the after party, I think it's like on a Saturday night, maybe.
Hmm.
They're gonna have like a content creator or a podcast sort of panel, and I think the only stipulation is that I've got to have the Sarnia guys, the Baja group, a couple of their representatives on my channel to kind of talk about it. So I've got to get that scheduled up, but I'm going to be on that panel, and so I'm pretty excited about that. I've actually never been asked to be like on a panel or really speak at a conference just yet. I have been asked to speak at like a couple of different RFRXs,
Yep.
which is kind of like, a TED Talk type thing that Recovering from Religion does. And so they've had me on a couple of times, and then I've had a couple of requests for me to speak to different groups, and so I'm working on getting those sort of situated.
Sure. Now, I don't know if it'll fit in your schedule, but I think it's the weekend before NanoCon is the 100th anniversary of the Scopes monkey trial.
Oh,
Also in, oh, fuck, Tennessee, Kentucky, one of those two. They blur together
I
for me.
think it's Tennessee.
I think it's Tennessee. Tennessee's worse because, by the way, uh, you got to watch out for people in the left lane in Tennessee. They just don't know what they're doing. They get in the left lane and they don't pass whoever's in the right lane, and they just park out there. So it creates these weird bottlenecks. We get 8 or 10 cars backed up, and then people try to get around the line by going in the right lane, but then they can't. No one wants to let them in, so everybody bunches up real tight. It's like, you guys are going to get killed doing this shit. But that's Tennessee. I know it happens in other states, so you don't have to tell me, listeners. But Tennessee is my worst. Every time I drive through that state, it's a driving problem. But yeah, upcoming we have the Scopes trial, NanoCon. I'll be there, and BajaCon, as you said, in Sarnia, not Narnia,
Mhm. Nope.
right over the border, way north of Detroit. And maybe this year I'll, because last year I drove my electric car all the way from Orlando to
Oh,
Sarnia,
really?
Canada. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, actually, I'm getting a new car this week. It's a
Oh,
Hyundai Ioniq 5. That's the Hyundai electric car.
I'm very familiar. I own the Ioniq 6.
Oh, you own the six? How is that? It kind of looks like a James Bondy kind
It
of
is.
sedan.
The back end is a throwback to the old timey Porsche 911. So the fins on the
Yeah.
back. Uh, and I bought it more for just the pure efficiency, the pure aerodynamics of it, and the range that it has.
Mhm.
And I love it immensely. By the way, listeners, I've made a few videos on how to drive an electric car on my YouTube channel. Maybe you can push me over 1,000 views. Who knows? Anything else you'd like to go over before we wrap up and send you back on your day of work?
Oh, mm, well, so like, I'm always available to give a talk if anybody wants me to talk to them, about stuff. I rather enjoy like, preparing speeches and all that kind of stuff. I've only done one in-person debate, but that's also something that I like to get into. But I would say that my most passionate thing that I work on is the mysticism kind of content. I haven't been producing a lot of that kind of content, but my wife actually voiced the audiobook for Dr. Carrier's Jesus from Outer Space, and
Nice.
we're slated to also produce the audiobook for his forthcoming book. That's a sort of like a part two to his On the Historicity of Jesus book. So we've got that coming up, and I would say that that's probably like that topic is my favorite to talk about.
Yeah.
I actually haven't talked about the flat Earth stuff in a long time, but I know that there's a lot of content creators that are out there talking about it, but I feel like it's like they're starting to leave it behind, especially after that Arctic thing where a couple flat earthers saw the 24-hour sun and apparently blew their mind. Um, yeah, I guess that's really all that I have to talk about. If anybody out there wants to come and see any of my conversations that I have, or if you want to see any of the videos that I produce, because I do try to produce them on occasion, you can find me at on YouTube at Godless Engineer, and on Facebook it's Godless Engineering, and pretty much anywhere else it's just Godless Engineer.
And do you have an email address they can use?
Oh yeah. So it's just John John at godlessengineering.com. If anybody wants to email me or anything like that, ask me questions. I'm more than open to interacting on there.
John, well, thank you. The Godless Engineer, everybody, thank you for being on the Phil Ferguson Show.
No, thank you for having me. This is great. It's great to finally connect up with you. I've seen you around the community a lot, and it's great to talk to you.